Hey everybody, welcome back to Detail. Today's video is on the new Lamborghini Urus SE. This is the plug-in hybrid version from Lamborghini. It comes in at an MSRP of $275,000, and as you can see right here, I've got it plugged in to my level 2 charger. We're charging up because this makes 790 horsepower. It's got the 4-liter twin-turbo V8, although they reduced the power of that to like 612 horsepower, but then added an electric motor for like another 180 horsepower, bringing the total power output of this car to 790 horsepower, make it the most powerful SUV you can buy outside of, of course, the Tesla Model X Plaid, which makes just over 1,000 horsepower. Let's check out the twin turbo V8 underneath the hood here. We won't be able to see any of the electric components, but this does have a 21 kilowatt hour battery, which is a lot bigger than I thought. All right, so most of the engine's covered up by these fancy engine covers, but you can see we got V8 twin turbo, 612 horsepower. When I picked up the car, the battery was about 50%, and I put the car in recharge mode to use the engine to charge the battery, and usually that goes pretty quickly in my Lamborghini Revuelto because, well, the battery in my Revuelto is like less than 4 kilowatt hours. This is over 20 kilowatt hour battery, so obviously it's gonna take a lot longer to charge. So I figured I would go ahead and plug it into my house level 2 charger and see if we can get this thing close to 100%. To turn it on, we press this button right here and our infotainment lights up. And then you can see right here, we have our combined gauge showing 100%, including electric and fuel. On the right, we have our fuel gauge. And on the left over here, we have our battery empty and full gauge. Now, this car is said to have about 40 miles of range on electric only, and I think that's European version, and they're thinking that in the US when it comes over here, it's gonna be EPA rated at about 22 miles to drive on electric only. As for exterior updates over the previous years, it's got new matrix headlights, a new hood design, and some other kind of small cues to differentiate from the others, but I think you might have a hard time picking it out, except the rear actually does look quite a bit different from the standard Urus. Now, one of the most common questions is gonna be how much faster is the Urus SE with its 790 horsepower than the outgoing Urus or even the Urus Performante? Now, while this does have a lot more horsepower, it does come with a pretty big weight penalty. The Urus SE with its hybrid battery and electric motor comes in at 700 pounds heavier than the Urus Performante. So that horsepower is only gonna get you so far. A lot of people are saying this is about the same speed as the Urus Performante, but we're gonna try that out today. I'll give a little quick 0 to 60 test during our test drive. Taking a quick look around the car, here's our plug-in port where we're charging. You can press this button to stop the charging and pull the charging out. There's a couple of indicators here. The fuel tank is actually on the other side. So we got electric on the left and gas on the right. Under here is where you put your fuel in. We do have a fuel cap, which is kind of weird. Usually you don't have fuel caps these days with a nice Urus logo. We got this really cool matte green paint, and this car sounds actually really, really good with the V8 twin turbo. Let's give it some revs. We're gonna go and unplug so we can actually start the vehicle. The Urus SE has quite a few different personalities. Down here is your selectors for all the different modes. We're gonna go ahead and start it up. It starts up in electric mode, of course, first. And if you start the engine, you pull here and pull down. That's Strata, Sport, Corsa. We'll put it in Corsa so we can hear the revs. On this side, you have your EV mode, where you can actually charge the battery from the motor by pressing this button right there. All right, so once inside, we got our window controls on this side, our mirror controls, door locks right here. This has soft closed doors. You bury it, clip it in there, and it closes there. Over here, we got our headlight controls, air conditioning, vents, and our steering wheel has a nice design here. It's got a performance shortcut mode. So in my Lamborghini Revuelto, it's got a EV shortcut mode, which is, it should be a performance mode because there's a lot more different settings you might want for full performance rather than EV, and a lot more people want that. Or at least you'd have 2 toggle back and forth. Anyways, press this button and it takes you to Corsa mode and all full performance, traction control off. That's pretty cool. And if we press that again, it goes back to the way it was before. So that would be a welcome addition to the Revuelto if Lamborghini can retrofit the software. We got our paddle shifters left and right. These control all the different views. So it's kind of cool. If you cycle through here, you can go through navigation, media, telephone, vehicle info, ADAS, telemetry, and dynamic widgets. So if you go here, you can cycle through your tire pressures, your engine temperatures, your hybrid battery status system, and so forth like that. And then you also have settings over on this side as well. If you press the view button, you can switch them on this side. So you got your batteries, your V8 indicators, your G meter, your TPMS, your hybrid flow, and so forth. So you could customize, you know, your dash how you would like it depending on what kind of gauges you want to see. Over on this side, we got two big screens that has CarPlay and a bunch of different apps you can cycle through. We could spend an hour going through all this kind of stuff, but there's a lot of different stuff in here from telemetry, except this, track stuff if you want to take this on the track, and then all kinds of settings in here for favorites and your navigation that's built into the car. It's got a really nice 3D look to it right there. And then of course your phone if you're using Apple CarPlay and so forth. Down here there's another screen which has the AC controls. This is actually a nice thing to have so you're not cycling through this to get to that. So pretty simple. Here's your fan speed, your temperature controls, where you want the air to blow, heated and cooled seats, and so forth, all on one panel that's always available. Now down here, here's where all the rest of the buttons are. This car has a lot of buttons. Here's your different modes for driving. That's Strada, which is your normal kind of driving mode. You got Sport, Corsa, a couple of off-road modes as well. And then over here is how you get to your EV modes. So we put on the brake and we pull back here. Now we go into full EV mode. It actually shut off the engine. You can see the RPMs are at 0. So on these buttons, you have hybrid, battery charge, and then performance. So if you're not in EV mode, let's say we're in Strada, these buttons light up. You can go from hybrid, battery charge, and performance, and that's indicated down here, right down there at the bottom right. So you got hybrid, recharge mode, and performance. So right now we're gonna leave it in recharge mode, trying that battery a little bit charged. I don't think it matters too much as far as performance. So we got a huge panoramic moonroof. We're putting back the shades now. And then of course you can open it up as well if you wanted to by hitting that button. Inside we got a nice mix of Alcantara on the steering, which I really like. We got leather dash, a little Alcantara here, heads up display. We got the Bang & Olufsen stereo, carbon fiber on the vents, carbon fiber here. No passenger display on this side. Got your glove box, nice leather seats with the red stitching, red seat belts. In the back, we got plenty of room for another 3 people. Here we go. Let's see what the Urus SE does 0 to 60. Engage launch control. That's 60. Engaging launch control.
30. 60.
Thought it could come off a little harder, giving 800 horsepower. It kind of comes off a little soft, doesn't even trip the tires, and then just kind of rockets ahead. I'm in Strada mode, so this is kind of how you just jump in the car and kind of drive it on a normal day. And it's actually pretty quiet. And the exhaust is not crackling and popping like it was in Corsa mode when I did those couple of revs. And obviously it's got adjustable suspension too. So I'll take a little sweeper here. Pretty responsive. I mean, just lightly throttle up to like 60 miles an hour here. Now this has pretty much multiple personalities. So we drop it down into sport. The gauges change. It immediately downshifts into the next gear. I can hear a little more exhaust sound down there. And it's a lot more responsive. Now this also has manual shift paddles as here and shift lights that come up here when you're in Corsa mode and manual mode. What's interesting about the Urus is it does have Corsa mode, but also has automatic Corsa mode, so it will shift for you in Corsa mode, which is nice. I think they should have that option in the Revuelto and even some of the other Lamborghinis as well. Sometimes you want all-out mode and you want the car to shift for you so you can concentrate on driving and not looking down at the tachometer. I mean, this is nice. It's got heated and we got cooled seats, so it's a little hot here. I'll turn the cooled seats on. You can feel that kind of turn on. That's actually pretty cold, almost a little too cold. It's got 3 levels. I can kind of turn that back down. Highway driving in sport, I can definitely hear the exhaust, but it's still tolerable. And if we drop it down into Corsa, now all the gauges change. It really downshifts. And you can hear the pops and crackles back there, and it's a lot more aggressive. It's holding 4th gear down here at 4,000 RPM, and it's got a lot more kind of pep. On the gauges, you can see the electric power below the RPMs, and you can also see, but what I'm not seeing in this Corsa mode is it actually recharging. So maybe if I go back into sport, Let's see if we can see the gauges recharge too. Yeah, now when you hit the brakes, you can see it regenning, but it's interesting it doesn't do that in Corsa. I forgot we have this shift automatic all performance button right there to go into there. So pressing this button is a nice shortcut to go into all performance. But interesting in Corsa, I'm not getting the regen. So actually on second look, it appears that when you press the all performance mode, it's almost like the sport response button of Porsche. You can see we got a countdown timer there of 13 seconds, and it puts us into Corsa, ESC off and everything, and then you can go fast, and then when that timer expires, it just goes back into the mode it was before. You can see we've got a flag now, and then it drops back down into Strata mode. So that's interesting. So that's just a temporary performance mode. Drop it back down to the Corsa, we'll give it a stab from a roll. It gets up to speed pretty quick, and it sounds great doing it too. Now let's say we wanted to jump into electric mode, pull this lever down here, and let's see what happens. So we pull that, the engine just turned off. I have a big E on the dash now, and we're cruising at 67 miles an hour with E. You can see there's no RPMs on the gauge. If I get on it, well, it actually started the engine if you get on it too much throttle, so it brings that in. So if we let go, it should go back into full EV mode. There it goes. The engine just shut off, so we're cruising at 60 miles an hour. You can see our output of the blue bar of how much power we're pulling out from the battery, and then our range on the right-hand side. So right now I'm cruising in just full electric mode in the Urus SE. Suppose we get about 20 to 40 miles of range, depending on the EPA ratings come out. Pretty comfortable, pretty quiet. All I hear is wind. All I hear is a little bit of wind. The car's really well insulated, actually. I don't hear a lot of outside wind noise or anything, or tire roar. These are riding on 23-inch tires as well. Notice quite a bit of suspension difference too. When you, from Strata Corsa, it gets pretty rough in Corsa through some bumpy roads. Even just now I put it in Corsa and I can feel the kind of road feeling a little different right now. Cruising second gear. It dips back quite a bit. It's got a lot of torque with the electric power on there too. And the shifts in Corsa are just, they're actually pretty violent. It almost seems like, if I try that in sport, I'm just curious to see like how different the shifts are. Yeah, they're definitely a little smoother. Sport, I feel like the shifts in Corsa are trying to give you that extra shifting sensation of some kind of like manual transmission. So definitely quite a bit smoother in sport. Now what's also interesting, if I'm sitting here in sport mode, it's got an e-boost gauge right here. And if I have it in performance mode, you can see we got 100% e-boost. And you hit it, and you can see that blue line go up. If I put this button over here into recharge mode, e-boost drops down to 0. And now because we're recharging the battery of the engine, we lose that extra 180 horsepower. And you can actually feel quite the difference. So if I hit it now, it is nowhere the same as if you put it in the performance mode and add the e-boost. Wow, so that's pretty cool that you can actually toggle the battery on and off and feel the difference in power. Overall, I've always been a big fan of the Urus. I think the hybrid version is an interesting play for Lamborghini because it offers all the performance. The performance is pretty much similar to that of the Performante, but you get the hybrid options with the ability to drive an electrical only and get some more efficiency. The weight penalty is the big thing. As manufacturers are going hybrid and increasing the power output, all the added weight from those components is really taking away from the overall performance gains of a lot of the cars that are coming out. So these cars are pretty much priced the same. You got to choose between Urus SE or Urus Performante, and they're both starting at about $275,000. And after options, they typically come in at around $300,000. So what would your choice be? Would you want the extra electric torque and boost when the ability to drive in electric mode in the Urus SE? Or would you go for the Performante, a little bit of a lighter car without the extra horsepower, without the electric options for the same amount of money? If I'm choosing, I'm probably, you know me, I like the electric stuff, and I'm probably going with the hybrid because I could just hit this button right here, turn off the engine, and just cruise in all electric mode, not make any noise, still drives great. And as far as the added weight, you know, you're really not tracking these big SUVs anyway, so does it really make that much of a difference in, you know, overall drivability and how the car feels? Probably not. All right, so 0 to 60 came in at 3.4. I think it was 3.2 with the rollout. Pretty repeatable. It's not spinning the tires. I think it has a lot more potential if they wanted to bump up the power and torque off the line to really get those 0 to 60s down. But again, that's really not what this car is all about. It's about ultimate flexibility. You got a Lamborghini. You got the raw emotions of the twin turbo V8. You got the ability to drive in electric mode. I think it's a pretty cool car. Definitely a fan. Special thanks to Lamborghini Broward for giving me a few minutes with the car. I know they're all booked up for the day with people test driving these cars and placing their orders. As always, thanks for watching. Enjoy this video. Hit the thumbs up, helps the video on the channel, and we'll see you next video.